Welcome back to Steel City Sports. So today we're going to be counting down the top 10 duos in the NBA. And I just have to say right off the bat that I think over half the teams in the NBA actually have a duo that you can make an argument to be in the top 10. That's how talented the NBA is right now. When I sat down to write out this list before I actually ordered it and made the list, I came to 18 duos. So yeah, I had to cut eight duos off of the list. But that just shows you how talented the league is right now. And if you're unfamiliar, like if you're new to the channel, you haven't watched my rankings in the past, the way I tend to do these lists, it's not really based on potential. It's if I'm heading into a season in a vacuum and I'm trying to win a championship, this is the list of duos that I would take. So obviously one would be the one that I'd want the most, and then so on down the list. So I'm excited to get into this. Really quick though, I do want to touch on 3 honorable mentions. So here are my honorable mentions that just barely missed the list, and it pained me not to put these on here. I mean, these honorable mentions right here just show how talented the league is. The fact that these duos weren't able to make the list. We have Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, who I really wanted to get on here because you have an MVP and an All-Star together. That should be enough to make the list. However, we only saw them play 38 games together as a duo this year, and they were incredible. The Philadelphia 76ers were on pace to have, I think, I want to say it was net rating. They were like in the top 10 of all time in net rating when Joel Embiid was playing this season. That's how good they looked. But their sample size, like I said, is very small. They've only played 38 games. The next one would be Fox and Sabonis. And this really sucks to not put them on this list because I already talk about how underappreciated the Kings are. So now that I'm kind of doing it, I hate to do it because I think De'Aaron Fox is a legit stud, had an awesome year last year and has only added to that and somehow missed the All-Star team. I don't know how one of these guys from the Kings didn't make the All-Star team. Sabonis is right now having one of the best statistical seasons that I've seen from a big man. Like, we're so desensitized from it because Jokic has been, like, mind-numbingly, stupidly incredible. And Embiid, obviously, like, we're in a resurgence for the big men right now. But Sabonis is having a historic season right now, basically averaging a 20-point triple-double and cementing himself as, behind Jokic, the best passing big men in basketball, one of the highest IQ guys, one of the best rebounders, just one of the best complete players in the NBA with one of the most explosive point guards in De'Aaron Fox. And then the last one, of course, is Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. Obviously, didn't really play much together at all this year. I think Ja only played like 5 games this season due to the suspension and then obviously getting a season-ending injury. Just kind of unfortunate how things have played out for the Grizzlies this season. But I have not forgotten about this duo. I still think it is one of the most prolific duos. And when Ja gets back to health, I'm sure they will eventually climb back up into the top 10. Ja Morant, one of the most explosive and fun players in the NBA. And Jaren Jackson Jr., when healthy, is one of the best defensive players in the league. Already won a Defensive Player of the Year. So those are the duos that just barely missed the list. So kicking off the top 10, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder duo of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet Holmgren. So last year, SGA made first All-NBA team, which basically the voters are telling you they thought he was the best point guard in the NBA last year. And I think he's somehow found a way to get even better this year, and I think he's the legit MVP. I know Jokic has now moved in as the favorite, but in my personal ballot, I would have SGA as the MVP, especially as the Thunder have grabbed the 1 seed in that insane Western Conference. And Chet Holmgren, like, you could also go J-Dub here if you want, but I just think the defensive ability that Chet Holmgren brings, the upside he brings to the, like, obviously J-Dub, I think he averages like a couple more points per game than Chet, but Chet is no slouch on the offensive side of the ball. I think he's going to grow to become one of the greatest scorers. But even right now, just the defensive impact, I think he's already on a short list as one of the most impactful defensive players in basketball right now, just given his frame, his length, and also, like I said, on the offensive side of the ball, he's no slouch as well. I think he's averaging like 17 points per game. So you combine that, SGA, who I think is, like, at worst a top 3 point guard in the NBA, who has a legit shot to win MVP this year, with one of the most impactful defensive players in basketball, I think they definitely deserve to be on this list. At number 9, I have the Golden State Warriors duo of Steph Curry and Draymond Green. So I feel like, for me personally, this was the hardest duo to rank. Obviously, Steph Curry's my favorite player in the NBA, so kind of hard to remove that bias for me personally. And when I made the original draft of this top 10, I actually didn't have this duo in here. But the more I thought about it, I was like, it would be ludicrous to leave this duo off here. Like, yeah, Draymond's definitely like the weakest number 2 option you're going to see on this list, but I don't think 2 players in the NBA have more chemistry than these 2 guys. I mean, they've played over a decade together. They know everything about the other player, where to be, the pick and roll ability, and obviously, like we just talked about with SGA and Chet, Steph Curry provides that just ridiculous value at the point guard position, not only from the scoring, not only from the efficiency, but just the spacing he opens up from his other teammates, his impact on opposing defenses. And then Draymond Green, say what you will about the guy, I still think he is one of the most impactful and high IQ defensive players in the NBA currently. So I think they just had to make the list by default just for their longevity. Like I said, they've played over a decade together. They've won 4 titles together, and I think they just complement each other perfectly. At number 8, we have the Boston Celtics duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Now, I feel like I might get some shit because this duo is not higher, especially when you look at the Boston Celtics' ridiculous record right now. I think, what are they, like 57-12 or something ridiculous like that right now? But I think that has more to do with the depth around these 2 guys. I think they have the greatest starting 5 since the KD Warriors right now. They have just a ridiculous lineup. I mean, their first 7 guys on their team are just incredible players. You look at the guys around them, like I said, Drew Holiday, Derek White, who you can argue are the 2 best perimeter defenders in the NBA that you have around these guys. And then you have Kristaps Porzingis, who legitimately is that unicorn player. You obviously have Al Horford, who knows the Celtics system perfectly. And me putting them at 8, like, I feel like people are going to be mad, but I'm not trying to disrespect them by putting them here. I just feel like I have more confidence in the other duos. These guys have played together for a really long time now. They made a finals. But until I see them win it, there's always just going to be that little thing with me. It's like, can they ever really get over the hump? I feel like Jason Tatum's obviously like a number 1. He's obviously a number 1 option. He's a superstar in the NBA. But there is, from time to time, those times where he just kind of fades from games. And it's like, sometimes you wish he had the confidence of, like, Marcus Smart, who they got rid of, or even Jaylen Brown. Like, I feel like Jaylen Brown really has the mentality of a number 1, but in terms of his skill is more of a number 2, whereas it's kind of the opposite with Jason Tatum. He has the skill of a number 1, but sometimes he has that mentality to settle and play more passive, and that's the only reason I'm really knocking on them. And when you look at some of these other duos, I think they complement each other better, whereas Tatum and Brown, their games overlap a lot. Now, that's not a bad thing. I mean, we've seen 2 versatile wings, like that blueprint of players has made some of the best duos ever. I'm not saying from a talent perspective they compare to these players, but from their play style they compare to these players. Like, you think of MJ and Pippen, 2 versatile wings that dominate on both sides of the ball. You look at LeBron and D Wade, 2 versatile wings that dominate on both sides of the ball. It's a winning recipe. It's just they haven't been able to put it together yet. And if they don't get it done this year with this supporting cast, then we're really going to have those conversations. We're going to start having to have those conversations about splitting these 2 up. At number 7, we have the Los Angeles Clippers duo of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And I feel like when we look back on this duo, it's always just going to be like a what if. Like, I cannot believe we're already in the 5th year of this duo. Like, that's honestly kind of sad, because I feel like every year at least one of these guys or both of them has been out with injury. But we've seen when they're on the court together, they're one of the most prolific and dynamic skilled players in the NBA. I mean, like, they're literally, I think, just the better version of Tatum and Brown. Like, we've seen them have playoff success. It's just they weren't able to keep the other guy healthy. Especially, you look back to 2021. I think if Kawhi Leonard doesn't get injured in that Utah Jazz series, I think they would have won the NBA championship in 2021. Paul George had the best playoff run of his career, even giving the Suns like a threat in that conference final. But ever since then, they haven't been able to keep their guys healthy. Even last year, like, it looked like they were actually going to give the Suns a good fight. And then Kawhi obviously gets hurt. What was that, game 2 or game 1? I can't even remember. But when they play, they are definitely one of the best in the league. It's just they have such a rough time of actually playing together. But this has been the first time in a while that I actually remember they haven't had like a catastrophic injury. So knock wood that doesn't happen. We get to actually see this Clippers team compete at full health in the playoffs, because on paper, they definitely should be higher. And if it materializes in the postseason, I would definitely put them higher on this list. At number 6, I have the Dallas Mavericks duo of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. So Luka on his own is just like mind-meltingly good. I mean, this year is having legitimately one of the most ridiculous seasons ever. I mean, what did he have, like 4 straight 30-point triple-doubles? Like, that is just, I can't even really put that into words. So you get that. Like, Luka is, I think, legitimately now a top 3 player in the NBA, and you combine that with the prolific and dynamic scoring ability of Kyrie Irving, who I think is still easily a top 25 player in the NBA right now. So you get those two high-level guys. I think their skill sets complement each other perfectly. And we always talked about this with Luka, was like, it was always going to be kind of difficult to find that number 2 to him because his play style is so unique. Like, he's such an all-encompassing player. It's going to be hard to really find that other star that can play off of Luka, but they found the perfect fit here with Kyrie Irving. They gave up basically nothing to bring him in, and all the BS about, like, the locker room stuff with Kyrie, it seems like it has died ever since he's gotten to Dallas. I love this version of Kyrie where he just goes out there and balls. I think he's averaging, 28 points per game now, and we saw Kyrie sort of play this role in Brooklyn where he was like, let Harden be the point guard. I just want to score. And he was, the couple games that they actually played together, Harden and Kyrie, they looked really good. And now you're seeing that happen here where he is obviously letting Luka run the offense and he's just being used as that offensive scoring weapon that he thrives in. And I think he just complements Luka perfectly. Just had that insane game winner. What was that last night? That left-handed skyhook fading away was insane. This is one of the duos that I am most excited to see in the playoffs. So I'm really hoping they're able to stay healthy because they are incredible together. Kicking off the top 5, we have the Miami Heat duo of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. I think you can make an argument this is the best defensive duo in the NBA. They've been to 2 NBA finals. When the teams that these two took to the finals literally had zero business being in those finals. And these two are, I think, some of the greatest postseason players we have in the NBA right now. Specifically Jimmy Butler, who goes from a good all-star level player to legitimately, arguably, like a top 5 player in the NBA in the playoffs. Like, it's one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. But the reason why he doesn't play like that on a night-in, night-out basis in the regular season is it's not sustainable. What the Miami Heat ask Jimmy Butler to do and what he has done in those playoff runs is essentially be the team. Like, he is making all the offensive plays. The offense runs through him while he guards the other team's best perimeter player and somehow is not gassed. Like, just has ridiculous ability to do that. I mean, it's really unprecedented to see just the usage rate of Jimmy Butler, the efficiency, the clutch ability, the clamp ability of Jimmy Butler. You pair that with Bam Adebayo, who I think will definitely win a Defensive Player of the Year in his future. I think you can make a case he's the most versatile defender in the NBA. Like, if you're asking a player to go out there and guard 1 through 5, I think Bam Adebayo would be my first pick there. He just brings such versatility and value on the defensive side of the ball. And even offensively, I think he's kind of underrated because, he's not obviously known as a scorer, but just for his IQ, the pick and roll with Jimmy, obviously, his playmaking ability, I think, is a drastically underrated part of his game. This is just one of the best duos in the league from a versatility standpoint and from a postseason success standpoint. They have to be in the top 5. At number 4, we have the Los Angeles Lakers duo of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. So this duo has already won an NBA championship back in 2020. And again, when you talk about the versatility, I think these guys complement each other perfectly. LeBron James is arguably like a top 3 offensive engine. Still at the age of 39, is still one of the best offensive engines in the NBA from his scoring ability. Obviously, his playmaking, his IQ, his shooting has come a long way. And then Anthony Davis is arguably the best defensive anchor in the NBA as well. So that complementary skill style, both these guys, is really the winning recipe. It's why they won a championship back in the bubble. And the only really concerning part about this duo is, like, you would always, in years prior, be like, well, what's the one thing the Lakers are missing? Like, how come they can never really put it together? How come they've been struggling so much? Well, I feel like the number one reason would always be, because Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. Well, you're actually getting like a very healthy season from Anthony Davis this year, yet somehow the Lakers are the 8th seed, and they've been like mediocre the entire year. So that's not a concerning thing about the duo. The duo is fantastic. It's more so a thing about the Lakers as a whole. Like, the supporting cast around them is just not good this year. But you can't deny this is one of the best duos in the NBA and has been for a while now. At number 3, we have the Phoenix Suns duo of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Now, some people might be confused as to why I put this duo above the Lakers duo. I think it comes down to one word, and that's consistency. Like, I know what I'm getting from D-Book and KD on a night-in, night-out basis, and that's usually 60 points combined from these guys. I mean, these two are walking buckets. I think it's arguably the best scoring duo in the NBA when you're just looking at bucket getting. I've had people tell me that I still overrate Kevin Durant at this point in time. Like, I get it. He's one of my favorite players ever. I still think I rate him a lot higher than other people. Like, I still have KD as a top 5 player of the world, and I know now that a lot of people don't actually still consider KD to be that. I do. Devin Booker, I think, at worst, is like a borderline top 10 guy. I think before the season started, I had him as the 11th best player in the NBA. So, just a unparalleled match of scoring ability. I mean, like, it is insane that they are on an NBA team together, because it's like, wow. I mean, and also, like, obviously Bradley Beal there too as well. Like, I think if they could just keep their health, similar to the Clippers, if they just keep their health, I think they're going to be one of the most dangerous teams in the postseason. You look back to last year's postseason, the only team that gave the Denver Nuggets any sort of trouble in the postseason was the Phoenix Suns. Like, every other team, the Nuggets just squashed. This Suns team, this was even before they had Bradley Beal. The duo of Booker and Kevin Durant gave the Nuggets real problems. And like, they were kind of just throwing it together on the fly last year. And I'm pretty sure they even took that series to 6 games. So it's going to be interesting if they match up now. At number 2, we have the Milwaukee Bucks duo of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. So a bit of a weird season the Bucks have had. Like, coming into the year, I think they were the favorite to win the title. I could be wrong on that. Maybe Denver still was, but I'm pretty sure they actually were the favorite after the Damian Lillard trade happened, and then they got off to a slow start. They fired Adrian Griffin, even though they were kind of turning things around. They had a great record. The Doc Rivers tenure started off bad. Like, Damian Lillard, a lot of people think he's not quite as good as he once was. Just a weird year, but overall, I still think that this is the best complementary duo in the NBA in terms of the skill style of Damian Lillard, who is the best, not the best, but he is one of the best perimeter shot creators in the NBA, to go with one of the best interior dominant forces in the NBA. So I think their skill styles just mesh perfectly. And this is the one that I cannot wait to see in the playoffs. This is the one that I have circled on my list that I cannot wait to see how they perform in the playoffs. They got a lot of pressure on them, especially Damian Lillard being on this team. But I just think the overall skill, how they match up together, they have to be this high on the list. Even though their sample size is smaller than some of the other duos we just talked about, the undeniable talent of these guys got them here. And the best duo in the NBA is the current reigning champion Denver Nuggets, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. I think it'd be silly to make an argument that any other duo is better. And this year, I finally came to the realization that Nikola Jokic is the best basketball player in the world. Dragging my feet on it for a while now. You know, like, some other people may have come to that realization like years ago. But, you know, for a long time, I was trying to push back on it because I'm such a big Embiid fan. I was trying to always argue Embiid was better. Well, after Jokic won the title, I had to concede that. And this year, I was still saying going into the year, Giannis is better, Giannis is better. No, he's not. Nikola Jokic, I think, is going to end up as a top 10 player of all time when you just look at the talent. I mean, wow. I mean, he is a one-of-one generational level talent. And Jamal Murray as well is one of the best complementary pieces we've seen in a long time, especially similar to like what I said about Jimmy Butler. Like, Jamal Murray really, really elevates his game in the postseason. You know, that's why I don't think you've seen him make an all-star team. Is like, he's really good in the regular season, but where he shines is the postseason. When the lights shine the brightest, that's where Jamal Murray thrives. So I think having a one-of-one generational talent, the best player in the NBA with Jokic, having Murray, they've already proven they can win a championship, and I think right now they are the odds-on favorite to win it again. So that has been my top 10 duos in the NBA. Be sure to let me know your list down in the comments. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe.